Where is everybody? The town that wasn't there. Awakening from the ego's isolation chamber. Before there was the monster on the wing, the stopwatch that froze time, or the salesman who met death on a street corner. There was this, a man with no name walking through a town that wasn't there. Where is everybody? Was the first episode ever aired of The Twilight Zone, and it remains the purest statement of what Rod Serling was really doing. Not science fiction, but metaphysics disguised as television. This isn't a story about an astronaut test. It's a story about the human condition. A mind dreaming it left heaven, then panicking when it can't find anyone else in the dream. In A Course in Miracles, the problem is always the same: separation. The solution is always the same: communication. Everything in between is a hallucination. This reflection steps inside that hallucination. It looks at the nameless man as the mind itself, the empty town as projection, and the isolation chamber as the body. What follows isn't film criticism. It's a map home. A man with no name walks into a town with no people. He carries no memory, no past, and only a handful of American dollars, symbols of a self that's already slipping away. The Air Force test has stripped him of everything but consciousness. In A Course in Miracles it is written, "You are at home in God, dreaming of exile but perfectly capable of awakening." Text chapter 10, section 1. This is the hidden premise of Where is Everybody? The deprivation chamber is the body, a small dark box where the mind thinks it's trapped. We glorify the box, decorate it, measure its vitals, but it's still a box. Hook up some electrodes, the nervous system, cut off real communication, spirit, and the mind will begin to hallucinate a world to populate its loneliness. That's exactly what special relationships are. Hallucinated companions to fill an imagined void. Inside the hallucinated town, the nameless man lunges for an identity. He sees a movie poster of a fighter pilot and blurts, "I'm in the Air Force." Then immediately wonders, but what does that mean? This is the ego's reflex when the dream begins to dissolve. Grab a role, grab a story, grab a label, anything to stabilize the I. We do the same thing in our lives. I'm a father, I'm a believer, I'm an entrepreneur. But if asked what it really means, the answer fades. He calls the dream a nightmare. Even in his panic, he knows he's dreaming. I'm in the middle of a nightmare I can't wake up from. In A Course in Miracles terms, that's the one problem, the belief in separation masquerading as an external world. He talks to mannequins, phones, mirrors, and to his own reflection. You're part of it. As if dimly sensing that the others are fragments of himself. It's Ebenezer Scrooge's line exactly. There's more of gravy than of grave about you. The egoic world is more projection than reality, more hallucination than substance. He picks up books titled The Last Man on Earth, his own subconscious revealing the script, and marvels that the dream is complete, right down to the last detail. This is the mind's genius. It will create a total environment to make unreality seem real. Even the detective in an interrogation, even the operator on the phone, is part of the same dream testifying to its own reality. Time collapses without real communication. The test lasted 484 hours, almost 21 days, but to him it felt endless. Cut off from spirit, horizontal time stretches into an unbearable corridor. This is why so many voices online say, "I'm tired of this world, I want out." They are describing the same inner panic the nameless man dramatizes at the crosswalk button, not living his story, but echoing it symbolically. In A Course in Miracles, the Holy Spirit is the communication link between God and his separated sons. Text chapter 5, section 3. When that link is refused, the mind goes insane under its own isolation. The breaking point of awareness comes when he pounds the button, desperate for anyone to answer. This is the metaphysical crisis. The ego's world no longer satisfies, and the mind begins to question, where is everybody? That question is the crack in the shell, the first glimmer of lucid dreaming. Then the walls fall away, and the camera pulls back. He's been in a box all along. The Air Force doctors call it delusions, but the deeper parable is that he, like all of us, created an entire world to stave off the unbearable truth of imagined loneliness. We've believed we were cut off from source, so we chased companionship in every form, but never solved the barrier of loneliness, because the barrier was never real. Next time the general warns, "You'll really be alone," a line that doubles as a challenge. Will you awaken before the next box? A Course in Miracles corrects the premise. You are not alone in your attempts to heal, because God placed the Holy Spirit in your mind. Text, chapter 5, section 1. The truth is, we have never been alone and never left home. The man thinks he's been on a trip to a town, then a trip to the moon. But the real trip has been into a dream of separation. And the way back is a single instant of true communication. Up there in the vastness of space, in the void we call the world, sits an enemy named isolation. It waits with the patience of eons, whispering, "You are alone." But in truth, no one is alone. The box is not a body. The town is not a world. They are shadows on the walls of the chamber the mind built for itself. Push the button if you like. The walls will fall away. The journey ends not by finding everybody, but by remembering you were never without them. That's the passage out of the Twilight Zone.